My son is unable to attend school. On the previous night, I found he was sick, and now I think it is better for him not to go to school so that we can avoid infection. I believe after some rest, he will become well and will successfully pass his exam. And I am happy to help him catch up on the missed lessons. Everybody needs fresh water. Without water, people, animals, and plants cannot live. Although a few plants and animals can make do with salt water, all humans need a constant supply of fresh water to stay fit and healthy. Of the total supply of water on the Earth, only about 3% of it is fresh. Most of that is stored as ice snow at the poles, or is so deep under the surface of the Earth that we cannot get to it. Despite so much of the water being out of reach, we still have a million cubic miles of it that we can use. That's about 300,000 cubic kilometers of fresh water to share out between most of the plants, animals, and people on the planet.
A spokesman for the project said, a car mechanic, for instance, could find at a glance where a part on a certain car model is so that it can be identified and repaired. For the motorist, the system could highlight accident black spots or dangers on the road. In other cases, the glasses could be worn by people going on a guided tour, indicating points of interest, or by people looking at panoramas where all the sites could be identified.
Founded after World War II by 51 peace-loving states combined to oppose future aggression, the United Nations now counts 192 member nations, including its newest members, Nauru, Kiribati, and Tonga in 1999, Tuvalu and Yugoslavia in 2000, Switzerland and East Timor in 2002, and Montenegro in 2006. United Nations Day has been observed on October 24th since 1948 and celebrates the objectives and accomplishments of the organization, which was established on October 24th, 1945. The UN engages in peacekeeping and humanitarian missions across the globe. Though some say its influence has declined in recent decades, the United Nations still plays a tremendous role in world politics. In 2001, the United Nations and Kofi Annan, then Secretary General of the UN, won the Nobel Peace Prize for their work for a better organized and more peaceful world. Since 1948, there have been 63 UN peacekeeping operations. 16 are currently underway. Thus far, close to 130 nations have contributed personnel at various times. 119 are currently providing peacekeepers. As of August 31st, 2008, there were 16 peacekeeping operations underway with a total of 88,230 personnel. The SM all-island nation of Fiji has taken part in virtually every UN peacekeeping operation, as has Canada.
Ancient paintings offer a fascinating glimpse into the lives, beliefs, and artistic skills of early civilizations. Many of these paintings were created on cave walls or pottery and have survived for thousands of years due to their preservation. The subjects of ancient paintings often include animals, humans, and scenes from daily life. These artworks were not only meant for decoration but also had religious significance. For instance, some cave paintings are believed to have been created for ritualistic purposes or to convey stories and folklore. The use of natural pigments and traditional techniques highlights the resourcefulness and creativity of ancient artists. Despite the passage of time, the beauty and intricacy of ancient paintings continue to captivate and inspire modern audiences.
Finding challenging or rewarding employment may mean retraining and moving from a stale or boring job in order to find your passion and pursue it. The idea is to think long range and anticipate an active lifestyle into later years, perhaps into one's 80s or 90s. Being personally productive may now mean anticipating retiring in stages. This might indicate going to an alternate plan should a current career end by choice or economic change.
Sports were firstly part of survival skills, tightly linked to human existence, but now they are mainly for recreational purposes and enjoyment. For example, swimming, hunting, and fishing were originally necessary for food, but today they have evolved into popular competitive sports. Some of them are actually seen as global competitions, attracting millions of spectators.
We believe anyone can excel with the right foundation. By understanding the basis of information setting for knowledge, such as coding and other skills, participants gain essential expertise. Through 9 to 12 projects, you will build your portfolio, and upon completing the program, you will have a robust showcase of your abilities. We invite parents to participate in a program held 3 times a year. The details of the program will be posted on our website. We expect parents to attend so that their children can succeed.
While many businesses struggle to adapt in today's competitive market, only a few have managed to truly thrive. Those that succeed often work alongside innovative partners who help facilitate growth through collaboration and shared resources. Thriving in such environments requires not only resilience, but also the ability to adapt and work effectively alongside others.
This museum restaurant is a perfect place to have a party. You can have a party of 20 to 25 people. More people are possible, and prices start at $45.
I feel about the opportunity to take on new challenges and contribute to the team. While I was working at my previous job, I gained valuable experience that I believe will be beneficial in this role. I am eager to take a position at your esteemed company, and I am confident that my skills and experience make me a strong candidate. Please let me know if there are any additional steps I need to take or information I need to provide. I am looking forward to your response.
Dear Sir or Madam, my name is Tonia. My roommate and I are looking for a nice apartment near my college's campus. We are very quiet and study a lot. I study history, and my roommate studies French. We are very interested in renting your apartment. We can pay the rent on time because we do a part-time work too. Some of our friends live in the same building and have recommended your place to us. They mentioned that you are a kind and responsible landlord, and we hope to have the same positive experience. I would like to make an appointment to view the apartment in person. Our application form is ready, and we are prepared to proceed with the process quickly. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Best regards, Tonia.
The Kuipers Library is a research library in Amsterdam's famous Rijksmuseum. It is the oldest and largest of its kind in the country and aesthetically astounding. However, despite the streams of tourists that flow through the museum, far too few seem to trickle into its remarkable reading room. The 19th century library, which has recently been restored, has been collecting content since 1885. Its shelves are stocked with manuscripts bound to entice any art history lover. While browsing its extensive collection, you'll come across books, journals, and periodicals, as well as catalogs about art auctions, exhibitions, trades, and collections. Following its renovations, the museum opened the library's reading room to visitors. Tourists, students, and art historians alike are welcome to delve into its rich collection. Tables on the ground floor allow people to hunker down with their research materials, surrounded by the library's aesthetically astounding walls of books. New BC residents will only be required to provide their driver license history. Proof of insurance is no longer required. However, their premiums will be adjusted for the first 3 years of driving in BC, due to the increased risks associated with driving in a new area. Each year you remain crash-free, your discount increases. ICBC will credit you with up to 15 years of driving experience, up from 8 years, upon receipt of a driver's abstract, showing the original date that you received your license. When obtaining your BC license, you can provide your original driver's abstract in person at a driver licensing office.
Robotic surgery allows the entire procedure to be recorded, helping to preserve detailed surgical information. This creates a valuable tool for training, giving students and professionals the chance to learn from real operations. It also enables doctors to operate remotely, a technique known as telesurgery.
Employees should adhere to regulations that define conditions of the working environment to ensure a safe and healthy workplace. These measures are intended to minimize hazards in the workplace. In some countries, companies are required to purchase insurance to protect employees' rights and interests. Fancy a locust for lunch? Probably not if you live in the West, but elsewhere it is a different story. Edible insects, termites, stick insects, dragonflies, grasshoppers, and giant water bugs are on the menu for an estimated 80% of the world's population. More than 1,000 species of insects are served up around the world. For example, kungu cakes, made from midges, are a delicacy in parts of Africa. Mexico is an insect-eating or entomophagus hotspot, where more than 200 insect species are consumed. Demand is so high that 40 species are now under threat, including white agave worms. These caterpillars of the tequila giant skipper butterfly fetch around $250 a kilogram. Eating insects make nutritional sense. Some contain more protein than meat or fish. The female gypsy moth, for instance, is about 80% protein. Insects can be a good source of vitamins and minerals too. A type of caterpillar, Usta terpsichore, eaten in Angola, is rich in iron, zinc, and thiamine. What do they taste like? Ants have a lemon tang, apparently, whereas giant water bugs taste of mint and fire. Ant pupae of watermelon. You have probably inadvertently already tasted some of these things, as insects are often accidental tourists in other types of food. The US Food and Drug Administration even issues guidelines for the number of insect parts allowed in certain foods. For example, it is acceptable for 225 grams of macaroni to contain up to 225 insect fragments. Stress, that tense feeling often connected to have too much to do, too many bills to pay, and not enough time or money, is a common emotion that knows few borders. About 3/4 of people in the US, Australia, Canada, France, Germany, and Italy say they experience stress on a daily basis, according to polling. The anxious feelings are even more intense during the holidays. Germans feel stress more intensely than those in other countries polled. People in the US cited financial pressure as the top worry.
Children who eat breakfast regularly consume more nutrients that are essential for healthy development. As a result, they are more likely to thrive both physically and mentally. Studies also show that such children tend to behave better in school and maintain higher levels of concentration.
The universality of story feature films are narratives they tell stories. Even films based on true events will fictionalize them in order to produce drama, to telescope time, to avoid being filled up with too many minor characters, or simply to be more entertaining. Even in the current welter of special effect movies, feature films are usually summarized by their plots, in their first treatment or outline of the script idea, in the advance publicity, in the TV guide, in reviews, and in conversations. Films may differ from other kinds of narrative literary fiction or television drama, for instance, in the medium used and the representational conventions. They do, however, share with literary fiction and television drama the basic structure and functions of narrative. Much work has been done by researchers in the field known as narratology on exactly what constitutes the structures and functions of the narrative. Their conclusions are of great use to students of the feature film. E-learning is the new way forward. We believe passionately in e-learning. Our innovative approach opens up new opportunities for busy professionals that simply did not previously exist. The chance to combine a prestigious master's program with a demanding professional and personal life. Our SML virtual classrooms facilitate intensive interaction and collaboration among professionals from all over the world.
With the increase in women's participation in the labor force, many mothers have less time available to undertake domestic activities. At the same time, there has been increasing recognition that the father's relationship with the child is important. A father can have many roles in the family, ranging from income provider to teacher, carer, and playmate. Therefore, balancing paid work and family responsibilities can be an important issue for both fathers and mothers in families.
At the end of the last ice age, the melting ice disrupted the ocean currents in the North Atlantic and caused a drop in temperature of almost 5 degrees. Even though the rest of the planet was warming up, the North Atlantic region remained in a cold period for 1,300 years. The same thing happened around 8,000 years ago when the cooling lasted about 100 years, and it could happen again today. Even a short period of cooling in the North Atlantic could have a dramatic effect on the wildlife and the human populations living there.
For lots of first-year students, the university may be their first experience living away from home for an extended period. It is a definite break from home. In my point of view, this is the best thing that you can do. I know you have to fend for yourself, cook and clean after yourself, basically look after yourself without your parents. But the truth is, sometime in your life, you are going to have to part with lovely mummy and daddy. But they are only just a phone call away, and it is really good to have some quality time without them. The first few weeks can be a lonely period. There may be concerns about forming the friendship. When new students look around, it may seem that everyone else is self-confident and socially successful. The reality is that everyone has the same concerns. Increased personal freedom can feel both wonderful and frightening. Students can come and go as they choose, with no one to hassle them. The strange environment with new kinds of procedures and new people can create the sense of being on an emotional roller coaster. This is normal and to be expected. You meet so many more people in the halls than if you stayed at home. The main points about living away from home are no parents. You don't have to tell them where you're going, who you're going with, what time you'll be coming, why you're going, etc. You learn various social skills. You have to get along with your roommates. Living with them can present special, sometimes intense problems. Negotiating respect of personal property, personal space, sleep, and relaxation needs can be a complex task. The complexity increases when roommates are of different backgrounds, with very different values.
One distinguishing feature of business is its economic character. In the world of business, we interact with each other not as family members, friends, or neighbors, but as buyers and sellers, employers and employees, and the like. Trading, for example, is often accompanied by hard bargaining, in which both sides conceal their full hand and perhaps engage in some bluffing. And a skilled salesperson is well versed in the art of arousing a customer's attention, sometimes by a bit of puffery, to clinch the sale. Still, there is an ethics of trading that prohibits the use of false or deceptive claims and tricks such as bait and switch advertising. Michel is the creator of the marshmallow test, one of the most famous experiments in the history of psychology, which is often cited as evidence of the importance of self-control. In the original test, which was administered at the Bing Nursery School at Stanford in the 1960s, Michel's team would present a child with a treat. Marshmallows were just one option, and tell her that she could either eat the one treat immediately or wait alone in the room for several minutes until the researcher returned, at which point she could have two treats. The promised treats were always visible, and the child knew that all she had to do to stop the agonizing wait was ring a bell to see all the experimenter back, although in that case, she wouldn't get the second treat. The longer a child delayed gratification, Michel found that is, the longer she was able to wait, the better she would fare later in life at numerous measures of what we now see all executive function. She would perform better academically, earn more money, and be healthier and happier. She would also be more likely to avoid a number of negative outcomes, including jail time, obesity, and drug use. Keith Haring began as an underground artist, literally. His first famous projects were pieces of stylized graffiti drawn in New York subway stations. Haring traveled from station to station, drawing with chalk and chatting with commuters about his work. These doodles helped him develop his classic style, and he grew so prolific, doing up to 40 drawings a day, that it was not long before fame and a measure of fortune followed. Soon, galleries and collectors from the art establishment wanted to buy full-sized pieces by Haring. The paintings skyrocketed in price, but this did not sit well with Haring's philosophy. He believed that art, or at least his art, was for everyone. Soon, Haring opened a store which he called the Pop Shop, which he hoped would attract a broad range of people. While somewhat controversial among street artists, some of whom accused Haring of selling out, the Pop Shop changed the way people thought about the relationship between art and business.
Dance has played an important role in many musicals. In some cases, dance numbers are included as an excuse to add to the colour and spectacle of the show. But dance is more effective when it forms an integral part of the plot. An early example is Richard Rodgers' On Your Toes, 1936, in which the story about classical ballet meeting the world of jazz enabled dance to be introduced in a way that enhances rather than interrupts the drama.
Research has suggested that major stresses in our lives are life changes, for example, moving house, marriage, or relationship breakdown. Work-related factors, including unemployment and boredom, are also common causes of stress. Differences in personality may also play a part.
Music was as important to the ancient Egyptians as it is in our modern society. Although it is thought that music played a role throughout the history of Egypt, those that study the Egyptian writings have discovered that music seemed to become more important in what is called the Pharaonic period of their history. This was the time when the Egyptian dynasties of the pharaohs were established around 3100 BCE, and music was found in many parts of everyday Egyptian life.
An herbal is a book of plants, describing their appearance, their properties, and how they may be used for preparing ointments and medicines. The medical use of plants is recorded on fragments of papyrus and clay tablets from ancient Egypt, Samaria, and China that date back 5,000 years, but document traditions far older still. Over 700 herbal remedies were detailed in the Papyrus Ebers, an Egyptian text written in 1500 BC. Around 65 BC, a Greek physician called Dioscorides wrote an herbal that was translated into Latin and Arabic, known as De Medical. It became the most influential work on medicinal plants in both Christian and Islamic worlds until the late 17th century. An illustrated manuscript, copies of the text made in Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, survives from the 6th century. The first printed herbals date from the dawn of European printing in the 1480s. They provided valuable information for apothecaries, whose job it was to make the pills and potions prescribed by physicians. In the next century, landmark herbals were produced in England by William Turner, considered to be the father of British botany, and John Girard, whose illustrations would inspire the floral fabric, wallpaper, and tile designs of William Morris 4 centuries later.
A letter from a mother to school officials because her son was sick at home, and she explained his illness to them, saying she did not want his son to spread the disease to other children. She hoped that the authorities would be able to pass on lessons to his son during this period.
According to a research conducted by Cambridge University, flowers can find their own ways to attract insects to help them pollinate. Flowers will release an irresistible smell. A scientist and her colleagues did an experiment in which they used fake flowers to attract bees and insects. In their experiments, they freed many bumblebees from their origins repeatedly and got the same results.
If you are interested in studying but have other commitments, our online and distance learning courses offer an alternative, flexible mode of study. Teaching is conducted through a mixture of audiovisual, written, and interactive materials. There are also opportunities for online discussion and collaborative projects with tutors and other students. Some programs include residential modules taught on campus, giving you the chance to meet and work alongside your tutors and fellow students face to face. Our graduate school provides comprehensive support for distance and part-time researchers, many of whom study for up to 6 years or more.
London's National Portrait Gallery is currently celebrating the 50-year career of photographer Sandra Lasada. The 21 portraits on display depict key figures in literature, film, and fashion from the early 1960s. Subsequent to the acquisition of 40 portraits by Lusada, the display at the National Portrait Gallery highlight shots taken between 1960 and 1964, many of which feature in Lusada's book Public Faces, Private Places, 2008. Formal commissioned portraits are shown alongside behind the scenes. Photographs taken on film sets and unguarded portraits of sitters captured at home.
An exhibit that brings together for the first time landscapes painted by French Impressionist Pierre-Auguste Renoir comes to the National Gallery of Canada this June. The gallery in Ottawa worked with the National Gallery of London and the Philadelphia Museum of Art to pull together the collection of 60 Renoir paintings from 45 public and private collections.
The wind is air moving around. Some winds can move as fast as a racing car, over 100 miles per hour. Winds can travel around the world. Wind can make you feel cold because you lose heat from your body faster when it is windy. Weather forecasters need to know the speed and direction of the wind. The strength of wind is measured using the Beaufort scale from wind force when there is no wind to wind force 12, which can damage houses and buildings and is called hurricane force. Absence from work is a costly and disruptive problem for any organization. The cost of absenteeism in Australia has been put at 1.8 million hours per day, or $1,400 million annually. The study reported here was conducted in the Prince William Hospital in Brisbane, Australia, where before this time, few active steps had been taken to measure, understand, or manage the occurrence of absenteeism.
Coral reefs support more marine life than any other ocean ecosystem and are not, surprisingly, a favorite pursuit for many divers. But as well as being physically and biologically spectacular, coral reefs also support the livelihoods of over 500 million people. What is more, this number is expected to double in the coming decades, while the area of the high-quality reef is expected to halve, in combination with the very real threat of climate change, which could lead to increased seawater temperatures and ocean acidification. We start to arrive at some quite frightening scenarios. The National Portrait Gallery's Conservation Department performs one of the gallery's core functions, the long-term preservation of all collection items, to make them accessible now and in future. The collection dates from the 8th century to the present day and consists of portraits in a variety of media. So the gallery employs conservators with expertise in a range of disciplines, including framing, painting, paper, sculpture, and photography.
Climate is the word we use for the weather over a long period of time. The desert has a dry climate because there is very little rain. The UK has a temperate climate, which means winters are overall mild and summers generally don't get too hot.
Early Impressionist painters were considered radical in their time because they broke many of the rules of the picture making that had been set by earlier generations. They found many of their subjects in life around them rather than in history, which was then the accepted source of subject matter for paintings.
Gentle or fierce. The wind always starts in the same way. The wind is formed by the circulation of air. The sun heats some parts of the sea and the land. The air among the hot spot warms up and rises. The cold air drops because it is heavy. Some wind circulates within a small area. Others blow in the entire globe.
More than simply putting flowers in a container, Ikebana is a disciplined art form in which nature and humanity are brought together. Contrary to the idea of a particolored or multicolored arrangement of blossoms, Ikebana often emphasizes other areas of the plant, such as its stems and leaves, and emphasizes the shape, line, and form. Though Ikebana is an expression of creativity, certain rules govern its form. The artist's intention behind each arrangement is shown through a piece's color, combinations, natural shapes, graceful lines, and the implied meaning of the arrangement.
How is plagiarism detected? It is usually easy for lecturers to identify plagiarism within students' work. The university also actively investigates plagiarism in students' assessed work through electronic detection software called Turnitin. This software compares students' work against text on the internet, in journal articles and within previously submitted work from LSBU and other institutions, and highlights any matches it finds.
You can study anywhere. Obviously, some places are better than others. Libraries, study lounges, or private rooms are best. Above all, the place you choose to study should not be distracting. Distractions can build up, and the first thing you know, you're out of time and out of luck. Make choosing a good physical environment a part of your study habits.
Sports women's records are important and need to be preserved. And if the paper records don't exist, we need to get out and start interviewing people, not to put too fine a point on it, while we still have a chance. After all, if the records aren't kept in some form or another, then the stories are lost too.
Of course, there were many different enlightenments, and scholars still argue about which was the real torchbearer. However, despite their quarrelsome diversity, most Enlightenment thinkers shared certain intellectual traits: insistence on intellectual autonomy, a rejection of tradition and authority as the infallible sources of truth, a dislike of bigotry and persecution, a commitment to free inquiry, a belief that, in Francis Bacon's words, knowledge is power.
Lake Turkana is a large lake in Kenya, East Africa. This part of Africa was home to some of the first humans. Here, archaeologists have found piles of bones, both human and animal, and collections have found piles of bones, both human and animal, and collections of stones that humans used as tools. By carefully uncovering and examining these remains, scientists have started to put together the story of our earliest ancestors. In 2001, a 4-million-year-old skeleton was uncovered in the area. Although a link between it and modern-day humans has not been established, the skeleton shows the species was walking upright.
Americans approached a record level of generosity last year. Of the $260.28 billion given to charity in 2005, 76.5% of it came from individual donors. These people gave across the range of non-profit bodies, from museums to hospitals to religious organizations, with a heavy KEC emphasis on disaster relief after the Asian tsunami and US hurricanes. In total, Americans gave away 2.2% of their household income in 2005, slightly above the 40-year average of 2.1%.
Over the years, to increase trade, many countries have created free trade agreements with other countries under the framework of General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade and World Trade Organization. Countries opened up their borders and agreed to remove trade barriers, which saw the emergence of international trade and expanded economic globalization. For example, in 1994, the United States, Mexico, and Canada signed the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, which ultimately removed all tariffs on trade goods between the three nations. This allowed globalization of goods and services, as well as people and ideas, between these three countries.
Participating regularly in physical activity has been shown to benefit an individual's health and well-being. Regular physical activity is important in reducing the risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease and stroke, obesity, diabetes, and some forms of cancer. The National Physical Activity Guidelines for Adults recommend at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity, preferably every day of the week, to obtain health benefits.
Mathematics and statistics play a part in almost all daily activities. They are at the heart of advances in science and technology, as well as providing indispensable problem-solving and decision-making tools in many areas of life. They underpin the rigorous analysis and modeling required for new policies, designs, and systems. Mathematical and statistical knowledge is much sought after by employers for a wide variety of jobs, not least in teaching the subject, and a qualification in any one of the areas we offer can bring real benefits in your professional life.
All approaches aim to increase blood flow to areas of tension and to release painful knots of muscle known as trigger points. Trigger points are tense areas of muscle that are almost constantly contracting, says Kippen. The contraction causes pain, which in turn causes contraction, so you have a vicious circle. This is what deep tissue massage aims to break. The way to do this, as I found out under Ogadengbe's elbow, is to apply pressure to the point.
What is a country, and how is a country defined? When people ask how many countries there are in the world, they expect a simple answer. After all, we've explored the whole planet. We have international travel, satellite navigation, and plenty of global organizations like the United Nations, so we should really know how many countries there are. However, the answer to the question varies according to whom you ask. Most people say there are 192 countries, but others point out that there could be more like 260 of them. So why isn't there a straightforward answer? The problem arises because there isn't a universally agreed definition of country, and because, for political reasons, some countries find it convenient to recognize or not recognize other countries.
In the fast-changing world of modern healthcare, the job of a doctor is more and more like the job of chief executive. The people who run hospitals and physicians' practices don't just need to know medicine. They must also be able to balance budgets, motivate a large and diverse staff, and make difficult marketing and legal decisions.